We heard back from Hungry Badger again, and it's always a joy for any reason, though in this case, part of the reason for the message was letting me know that I had had an audio glitch happening in episode 61. Some of you may have heard it if you listened early enough. The pauses in between me speaking, the room tone that I inserted in there, they somehow got blasted way up, and so it sounded like almost static between them. It was bad. It's been corrected. Hopefully you heard that version, but I'm certainly appreciative to have that brought to my attention. It was by far not intended. Sorry to any of you who heard it the bad way, and hopefully it won't happen again. But that wasn't the only thing Hungry Badger reached out to let us know. We also had another prompt response. This one was a pretty simple prompt, and so a pretty simple answer, as fitting. In episode 56, I asked for a song based on the action and theme of Communicate and Wealth. Hungry Badger writes, Price Tag by Jesse J. I had not heard the song before, but I pulled it up and completely agreed. I mean, I wasn't surprised given the title of Price Tag that it would work well with Communicate and Wealth, but yeah, she flaunting it. It works. I will say, while it is not officially the prompt for this episode, anybody is welcome to respond at any time to any of the prompts from any episodes, and I am curious to see if anybody will come up with a song with a like oblique connection to Communicate and Wealth, like something, because I certainly thought even at the time, like, yeah, there's a lot of songs about kind of flaunting what you've got money-wise, like, they just take your pick, there's so many. And to be clear, I don't have my answer for this, but I wonder, is there a route to be drawn for like Communicate and Wealth, but not, like, that's not, the song isn't just about like, I've got a lot of money. I wonder what that might be. Again, not officially the prompt for this episode, but if you have an idea, do send it in. Though, in that case, I'm probably going to need you to explain it to me because I'm not a very smart person and I rarely listen to the lyrics of songs. I don't know. Anybody else out there like that? Where, like, the musicality is everything. That's what sells me on a song. But lyrics, like, they might as well just be white noise to me. I rarely register what the words actually are in a song until I've heard it a bunch of times. If you feel the same way, please chime in. If you feel differently, please chime in, but, feel like we have less in common. Anyway. All of this stuff is ancillary. Thank you again, Hungry Badger, for writing in for both of those reasons. And now, the theme music. Which I suppose does technically have words. Yeah. We have been in a bind for a long time lately. Emile has, as we mentioned, been burning the candle at both ends, giving it his all to try and just rescue these prisoners, to fight this fight against the Imperium. It's not been going great. I mean, we did eventually have some success. We did successfully get off the profit margin, though not everybody made it. After a whole episode of setup, with coming up with this clever plan to try and trick them into thinking they had disabled the Beowulf in order for Emile to have it ready to jump away and then get all of the Imperium members enthralled by a version of the wormhole noise that had previously captivated all the people on the Beowulf. Look, this show is getting harder and harder to describe. I really hope you don't need this recap and aren't just jumping in on this episode. Weird shit's been going on. But after all of that, after Emile and Valkyrie and Cypher were ready to jump off while Ironsides kept the rest of the Imperium enthralled, Emile was pulled back by his doppelganger, the other Emile. This other Emile was not yet ready to let Emile go. He was held back, the hangar doors closed, he had to fight for his life for a while, and failed and failed and failed, and eventually Ironsides even got wrecked after Karthik Kwan caught up and just broke him, keeping him in just a bear hug that broke this robot, at least for now. Ironsides fell to pieces. The rest of the Imperium came too. Emile was barely able to fight back enough to eventually get the hangar doors open, get his way out into space. He was on his way back to the Beowulf where Vert had indeed agreed to actually let him on board, though he was certainly not going to be the captain. Emile was on his way back when suddenly a massive explosion from Newton's Folly rocked out into space, blasting Beowulf aside, tumbling end over end, blasting Emile aside. We left off there with Emile not yet on board and in his suit that has some kind of jet propulsion to it, needing to get over there in order to break away. Now, Newton's Folly's explosion has definitely given them a bit of an opportunity here, especially as the nearby ships, the bombers, the actual Imperium warships that were in combat with Newton's Folly, they got utterly rocked by this explosion. We did not determine if they're entirely destroyed or just disabled. And we'll get to that, but first, considering all of our sliders, all of them are at 0 right now. Momentum, health, spirit, supply. We even have the misfortune of wounded, shaken, and unprepared, which, I mean, unprepared comes from just having supply of 0, so that's not a surprise. Our integrity, 0. Our EMP, 0. The only thing we have going for us is that, like, I mean, I'm 9 boxes out of 10 on rescuing the prisoners, so that's good. But just about everything is going terribly. We desperately need a vignette, something to give us even that one bit of momentum, which alone won't do anything, but it'll maybe, just maybe get us started, or at least give us that one more buffer against falling into the negatives. We gotta latch on to anything we can. So, what should our vignette this week be? This is another week where I don't immediately have an idea for it, but I do desperately want the benefits. So we're going to roll on the begin a session table to see if we can find some inspiration. So this week, we roll up. Important character is put in danger or suffers a misadventure. Okay, so what that immediately makes me think of is Ironsides, who was left behind, smashed up by Karthik Kwan, and whose remains are there on the profit margin. Now, we were there when that character is put into danger or suffers a misadventure. Like, we know about that. I, of course, could do a vignette of another character actually getting in trouble, but, like, honestly, we've had enough misfortune lately. I don't know that we need to be pulled in yet another direction trying to help. Feel like we need to help out one of our other various characters that we've established. Like, I don't know about that. Although I do suppose maybe, okay, instead of Ironsides, I have another idea. We previously established that Magpie is on board one of the other ships, the one that was harassing Newton's Folly, one of the ones that was in combat and just got rocked with this explosion. So maybe this is the opportunity to find out, like, was the ship destroyed or not? Let's catch in from Magpie's perception on what happens during that moment. Because this is before the explosion has happened. They have Newton's Folly disabled. And let's explore a little bit about why, like, are they not intending to blow it up or something like that? Maybe this could even be a moment where Magpie, you know, he is still a Vault Hunter, even if he is quite the just after himself politician type. Maybe we get a glimmer of humanity and like Magpie is the one who convinces them not to blow it up. Maybe. I like the idea of it not being humanity exactly so much as, what if the reason why Magpie wants to talk them out of it is because he wants to continue, like, he wants to lord it over them. Not like, hey, I saved your life, but more, Magpie wants to be the one controlling them. Like, he wants to be there in charge of their fate as they all get their minds wiped. And then, like, he can be the ruler. Yeah, okay, let's take it that way. So this is a scene where, you know, there's a council kind of happening on the warship determining, should they press on? Should they just blow the ship up while they have the opportunity? Obviously, they've been in quite a combat with it. They know it's quite capable. This is a dangerous ship to leave aboard. And there are some people who want it to be destroyed in this room. There are some people who just say, like, just destroy it. It's not worth it now. And some people who are suggesting the right call is, we're here to get prisoners. We need to take prisoners. And so Magpie speaks up in this moment, and we know why. But Magpie says, if I may, there is one other consideration that we should have. It's not simply about the prisoners themselves, but any ship is a worthy addition to our arsenal. A ship of this magnitude, I mean, you saw how it rivaled even the power of this one. What a great addition it would be in the fight against the Vault Hunters to have that on the side of the Imperium. And I think various people, like, they know he was, 5 minutes ago, he was a Vault Hunter. So there's definitely a faction in the room that's just like, what does this guy know? Like, why are we even listening to, why are we entertaining him at all? And Magpie responds to that all with just like, it's not important that we focus on the past, who I was. What's important to recall is that all of these people, all of these prisoners whose minds are now going to serve the Imperium once again, rather than fight against them in a senseless battle towards opening the vaults, they came here as a result of my actions. I think you'd be wise to remember that I am an asset who has brought more assets to the Imperium. My counsel should be heeded along with everyone else in the room who has, up until this point merely struggled in a senseless combat with the Vault Hunters, whereas this is the turnaround. After all, was it not I who even suggested we take them to Archer Colony? Clearly my ideas have been well suited in the past and they should be adhered to now. And there's a lot of murmuring in the room. And I think given that we rolled important characters put in danger or suffers a misadventure, I like the idea that, the murmurs go back and forth and they've decided they've kind of had enough of his pompous shit. I think the consensus in the room turns to, no, fuck this guy. Even if he has a good idea, we outnumber him and he just sucks. Let's throw him in prison too. Why are we giving him any kind of reward here? And so they manhandle Magpie, who is protesting the whole way about how they're making a huge mistake. And they're going to throw him in like the prison on this ship. But the reason this is relevant is I think Magpie, in, the best way of all the worst characters and like the just fortune befalling them and being just these cockroach-like survivors. I think when the explosion goes off, and we see this all from Magpie's perspective, this ship gets utterly fucked in so many ways. And we're going to roll right now to find out if it's just wholly destroyed. But either way, Magpie's going to be safe from it. He's going to be the least fucked character by it all, by the fortune of having been thrown in their prison. So let's see. Let's find out now. Is this like the ship gets blown into as they were deciding, fuck him, like let's just blow up Newton's Folly. And like the faction who decided that it's not worth risking it decides, let's just blow it up, which is why they get in all the closer once again and why they're so rocked by the explosion. But does it utterly break the ship or does it just really fuck it up and Magpie is more okay than most people? So let's see. We're going to ask the Oracle on this. I am going to say, due to everything we've set up and how the whole point of this is like, this was an overloaded system designed. Bash wanted to take them out with him. That was the whole point of this. So I'm going to say it is likely that these two ships that are nearby ready to destroy it get destroyed in the process. But it's not almost certain. Let's see. Do these ships get destroyed in the blast? Yes, they do. I rolled a 24, so even on 50-50, even on unlikely, actually, this still would have been a yes. So this was a very yes kind of situation. So indeed, both of these other big warships, they are blasted into pieces. And we are going to see, as we end this vignette, tumbling around, not especially secured in this prison, a piece of the ship that Magpie is in that has the prison. I think because it has like a translucent energy barrier over the top of his prison door, sealing him in. Like the rest of the ship is exposed to the vacuum of space and everything. But this room is cordoned off enough so that he can't escape. It actually has, at least for a limited time, it's a sealed system. It has oxygen, it has life support. It's not still running, he's going to run out of it. But this piece, he is just in a broken off shell of a ship that is sealed and somehow maybe it's on an internal battery or something. There are like backup systems to make sure that, if the power goes out, the prisoners don't escape. And so these backup systems are keeping Magpie safe as he rockets around through space, heading off to who knows where. But you can't just kill one of those characters off just like that. That's going to take action on our part. Magpie is going to live to be a shitheel somewhere else. And I think the last thing we get of it, like as he's looking out and knowing he's in a tremendous amount of danger, he's looking out the doorway, pressed again. One part of him is recognizing this is a bad situation. But the other part of him is gleefully looking on at the destroyed ships, knowing that he winds up on top once again. And so we just go out on his face. So we're going to take +1 momentum. I'm actually really happy with how that vignette turned out. It's why sometimes it's really helpful to just roll on those tables. I had no idea what I wanted a vignette to be. And I think that's just such a cool addition to the game that just give a good reason for Magpie to survive. Now this also tells us, of course, the 2 warships, they're destroyed. Which means the Beowulf is left with only the profit margin as a nearby, like, thing to be afraid of. And we've previously established profit margin is not a warship. It has some ability to attack, but it's not nearly as dangerous on its own without the backup of these other 2 ships. Newton's Folly has definitely opened up a great window for us in this grand sacrifice. If you've ever played the game of Dread, you know that one of the moves you can do in that game is you're always welcome to push over the Jenga tower willingly as a sacrifice. It kills your character, but you can noble sacrifice on the way out. And, well, that's what Bash did for the rest of us. And now I don't think he thought he was going to be saving us. He thought we were just as fucked. In fact, he communicated that fact, but still, the effect was the same. Or is it? We, of course, do still need to find out, how's this going to go? So we come back into the situation with Emile. Seeing this all from his perspective, we know that he is currently tumbling around through space as a result of this same explosion. He's tumbling, trying to get his bearings straight. Beowulf is tumbling around. They're doing maybe a little bit better of a job of getting their bearings straight, but they're no longer nearby exactly. And it was already going to be a bit of a challenge to catch up regardless. So how does Emile best set up his success here? Because this is an opportunity where I'd love to find a way to secure an advantage or anything. Emile needs any advantage he can get. So what can we do here? I guess, actually, we've previously established Emile has broken through the encryptions. He can control Beowulf. So we could secure an advantage that way by just, like, as long as Emile can stop himself from tumbling, he could get the Beowulf to just, like, pick him up. He can have them converge together so that he doesn't need to be as agile himself. And it'll, of course, be a lot easier to stop tumbling if the Beowulf is just nearby and grabs it. Now, here's the only problem I have with this idea. I think the very idea that he's tumbling about end over end makes it inherently hard to just know exactly how to program where the Beowulf should go. Here's how I'm going to say it, though. All right, we're going to do this all wits-like. Emile, through his connection to the Beowulf, he's close enough now that, he's got some amount of readout by his connection just on his computer because this was his ship. He is able to kind of access certain systems and stuff. What if we use the connection that Emile... We like reverse the situation. Emile tends to send programs directions into the Beowulf, right? We could do it in reverse, maybe. What if he gives instructions to the Beowulf to, like, locate Emile on its sensors, analyze his rotation, and send back information to him that controls his thrusters to stabilize him. So he doesn't have to, like, do it himself through his own dexterity. He uses his computer to get another computer to analyze him, to then connect it through, like, smart systems so that he doesn't... I hope that all made sense. Let's make it work. Now, this does sound like we're making a very specialized program. Because I think Emile is relying on the idea that they're going to get the Beowulf stabilized. Somebody else is going to. There's a lot of hands on deck. They'll be able to do that, and it's got cameras all around. So in the meantime, Emile doesn't even try to stabilize himself. He is just going to secure an advantage here to make a computer program to perform a specific complex function, the one I just described, to analyze his position in space and figure out how to correct for all the rotation, and send that information backwards through radio signals via the program that we had already established. So we get to add +2 and take 1 momentum on a hit. So this is our secure an advantage with wits, using our tech asset. And then, of course, one time only, when you trigger the program to fulfill its purpose, re-roll any dice. So here we go. Wits with a +2 as Emile tries to just zone out the world and make this program to send over to the Beowulf. Okay, so we get a weak hit on this. But that's enough. That is still a hit. So on a weak hit, we're going to either be able to take 2 momentum or a 1 on our next move. We're already going to be able to re-roll like anything on this next move. The momentum is going to be way more important. So I take 2 from secure an advantage, 1 from my tech asset giving me 1 momentum on a hit. So we're up to 4 now. And so he's got that program ready. He's going to send it over to the Beowulf, which I don't think requires a roll in and of itself. Like, he's already got a system established for that kind of connection. So let's make the actual face danger in order to get himself stabilized via usage of the Beowulf's cameras. At least stabilized relative to the Beowulf, which is the important bit. So, alright, this is going to be a face danger, probably still with wits. I mean, this is still about his ability to, like, link up all these smart systems. The whole point is to avoid his own dexterity, his edge. It's not a factor. The wits component is, can he relay this data incorrectly? Because I don't think this suit is inherently designed to take that outside data, but he might be able to kind of bridge some connections, jimmy it a little bit, which does honestly sound like we are repurposing equipment or technology, which our gearhead move counts with. So this is actually a wits +1, and we take 1 momentum on a hit, and we can re-roll any dice when we trigger if we need to. So here we are. Okay, currently it's a weak hit, but that's largely because one of the dice I rolled is a 10, and I don't really like that. We're going to re-roll that die. We don't need that challenge die. It can't get any worse. Might as well re-roll it. We otherwise have a 7 versus a 5, so might as well leave the other one alone. And I don't want to risk doing any worse than a 7. I could, like, I rolled a 3. It's adding my wits and a 1 to that, so, like, half the time I'd be better, but it's still not worth it. It's good enough. Let's just not risk it. Let's re-roll the 10. Again, that one can't get worse. Okay. It didn't get worse. It got better, but not better enough. So it's still an 8. It's still just a weak hit. We succeed, but not without a cost. Make a suffer move of -1. I do at least have momentum to lose now. Everything else, in fact, no matter what we apply this to, the end result would be momentum -1. The only difference would be if I lost health, spirit, or supply somehow. Well, not supply, but if I lost health or spirit, it might get worse. And I think momentum makes the most sense. Like, we lose some time getting this system to all work. It probably, it works, but not perfectly. It can identify Emile generally, but it sometimes loses it. It takes a few passes, but eventually Emile and the ship get stabilized relative to each other. And once that's done, I feel like that's the important bit. I don't think there's a lot of danger left to make it worth a move to, like, bridge the gap and get over there. Because again, he can just have the ship pick him up by his own commands. This just no longer feels like there's enough danger to warrant a roll. So I'm not going to. One way or another, probably by the ship just coming to him, Emile is going to be nearby. They kind of do a pseudo docking procedure, and Emile is able to grab on and align to where it's like the actual airlock. So we're in position. Emile does the thing on the outside to open up the airlock. They could certainly lock him out if they wanted to, but they had an agreement. The first door of the airlock opens. He's inside. It seals behind him. He goes to get to the other one, and that one is locked out. And Emile is not too surprised. A face comes up on the screen inside the airlock. And it's, of course, Vert. And Vert says, "Oh, no. No, we did have an agreement, and I'm going to stand by it. You're welcome on this ship. But there's no way in hell you're getting out there with everybody else. Not only are you a mayhem, a menace, a danger to everybody here, but word has it you've been coughing up some weird shit, and I don't want any of that out here." Now, here's the interesting question. There was a time where there was a chance we were considering that Vert might actually have been infected as well, because we had rolled that there was a dead body in the room with the prisoners, and then we pivoted towards that was just Vert, but we had always kind of in the background considered the possibility that he may be being somewhat kept alive by the same kind of undead, like, vampirism sort of thing that's happening that keeps rejuvenating him while it's also killing his body. I want to finally make it official through an oracle roll, because this would be a wonderful moment. Like, what if both Vert and Emile are, like, kept in the airlock? Like, as he's talking about how he doesn't want this out here with everybody else, like, what if he starts coughing and releasing the gas on his own? So we're going to ask the oracle to make this official. I'm just going to leave it at 50-50 because, maybe we want that. We've never firmly established it. Maybe it's a thing, maybe it's not. Is Vert also infected? Does he have this same problem? Yes, he does. I rolled a 20. So again, even on unlikely, he would still have it. So that being the case, I want the next move. I want to try and gather information. I want to secure an advantage again I want Emile to notice that Vert is showing signs of it on his own, because he could well use that to his advantage to compel this situation to be a little bit better. So Emile is watching, and maybe he sees those first signs of like either little wisps of gas coming out, or like some of his skin starting to look a little bit odd or peel back. Any of those signs like Emile has had, where, because we established Emile's starting to look a little bit weird, like his lips are kind of breaking away. He's exerted himself quite a bit. And it seems that his exertion has been contributing to his physical degeneration. The same might be true of Vert. So anyway, this is a wit secure an advantage as Emile tries to see if he can pick up on any of that, use it to his advantage. And he does. This is a strong hit. So you succeed. Take 2 momentum, add 1 on your next move, not a progress move. Now, for that to make sense, that should totally be a compel. Emile picks up that, yeah, Vert also has those same signs. And I think Emile's going to assume that, more people than Vert can hear him, that he's probably on speakerphone, basically. And if he says something loud enough, at least other people nearby in the same room as Vert will hear what he has to say. And Emile says, I understand. You gotta prioritize the safety of people. I agree. And with that in mind, have you checked yourself in the mirror lately? Breathe out heavily, looking like you got some gas inside as well. Sounds like I'm not the only one who should be kept in quarantine here. And he's going to try and compel basically the crew to eliminate Vert as being fully in control here. He wants just what I said. He wants Vert to be in the airlock with him, because that's his leverage against, like, they'll hopefully not just blow him out the airlock at some point. Now, this is obviously a risky thing, because now, they're stuck in a room together and Vert hates him, and, like, it's going to have its own knock-on effects. It's not all good, but it does help seize a little bit better on the situation, maybe. They'll at least be more equal. So we're going to make this compel move. This is, I'm between heart and iron here. In a way, this is kind of about insight, but his goal isn't just, like, he's not just trying to set Vert off. He's not trying to make him angry. That's not the mechanism by which this persuasion would work. It really is more bartering with people. He's not charming. He's not pacifying, but he is encouraging or bartering them to do a thing by making the clear argument that, hey, pay attention to Vert. Like, get them to notice he has the same problem. So here we go. I'm gonna lean towards heart. It's not about just threatening. So we get a +1 on this because of our secure an advantage. Heart with a +1 gives us a weak hit. So there's going to be a demand or a complication. We still get 1 momentum, so we're going to be up to 6. I think I'm going to go with complication here. It's not that they want anything. Like, this is just a good idea. Of course they want to quarantine Vert. They wouldn't be looking for something back from it. The complication, however, is there's no time for that in the moment because the profit margin has started attacking them. They don't have all the time in the world to do this. Profit margin certainly wants to take the opportunity to, like, well, let's disable them for real. They faked us out, but that's a problem. They're not done with us. So laser fire starts coming in. The ship starts getting blasted. I think it's not so much that I'm going to, like, I'm not going to make us, we don't pay the price, so I'm not going to make us actually take damage from it. It's just enough that, like maybe it doesn't even hit, but it's coming in and we know, like, we got a problem here. And there's currently no time to deal with the process of getting Vert in and out and making sure that Emile doesn't escape. Like, because, as soon as they open the airlock, Emile could, in theory, join into the ship, and they don't trust him not to do that. So there's no time right now. We know that Vert isn't showing the biggest sign, so they're willing to risk it for the moment. What's another 5 minutes or whatever, and maybe we're all about to die anyway. So we need to have a combat here of some variety. We could just do this as a battle. It could just happen in a blur. But I do think this is probably worthy of actually entering the fray. The good news for us is, this didn't happen on a full-on miss. We're not paying the price. They didn't get their shot in. And one-on-one like this, we are a superior ship. Beowulf is noteworthily a superior ship that has heavy cannons and everything. So, honestly, this might only be a troublesome fight. I think they placed a shot that was intended to disable our cannons, and we just dodged out of the way in time, and it doesn't do that. And so, having missed their one opportunity to level the playing field, this is probably going to go pretty poorly for them. But who knows? I mean, it all comes down to the dice. So we're going to enter the fray here. We need to figure out what is a good objective, because I think the problem is we don't want to just blow them up. And I like the idea of there being something more specific and tangible that we're trying to do. Like, I don't want to just say disable the ship. That's boring. I want something a little bit more like, what are we trying to do? What is required to disable the ship more specifically? Like, what if we say that, you know, we do not have just like ion cannons or something designed to just make the ship go pew. It's too risky to just try and blast it to the point where it hopefully is incapable but won't blow up. We're trying to not just rely on that, but we do want to disable them because we'd love to get Vert's armor back. We'd love to get Ironsides back. I think Dash is insisting on that we need a way. But also, if anybody has studied Karthik Kwan to get any kind of idea on how they might get around this sickness, that answer is probably, at least in part, on the profit margin. We'd love to get access to that. We don't want to throw it all away. And we don't have a good way of ensuring that just by blasting at it completely. So I thought of a cool idea of like how we might be able to disable this ship. And maybe the plan is they've got that giant array designed to collect solar energy, right? It's supposed to take massive amounts of energy and disperse it throughout. Now, maybe if we flood that with energy, which, I mean, it wouldn't be anything compared to what it's designed to capture, but we know that it has to divert and use that energy and send it to places. And so even though our cannons and stuff would be giving it basically no energy compared to a sun, we know that the big electrical explosion like fucked up all of those systems. There was a big burst, a fire that was made out of that room. Like, they got the fire contained, but the ship's ancillary systems like that, they're not ready for it right now. And so the plan they come up with inside is, yeah, like, if it starts capturing energy, that's going to flood the system. It won't be able to divert it well, and it should disable it just electronically from the inside. And so that is the objective, is flood the quasar array with energy to disable the systems. And so I don't know. I think it's cool to have a specific goal like that really helps trigger, like, we're not just shooting at each other, but we have a specific idea in mind. So let's make that the goal. I do think there's an argument to be made this could just be troublesome, which is always a weird point where it's like, is a troublesome combat worth a combat, or should it just be a battle move? But you can have a troublesome combat. I'm torn between troublesome and dangerous. It's just that it truly is. We're a warship and they're not. I feel like, as harsh as I am to myself at times, and admittedly as kind as I am to myself at times, I do have to respect just the reality of the situation. And if I'm being honest here, I really think this is just troublesome. These are just unmatched ships. So it's just going to be troublesome. Let's enter the fray. We're on the move. I think that's the most reasonable one here. We're not caught in a trap exactly. This wasn't an ambush. I mean, we're kind of sizing up the situation, but not really. We're dodging their laser fire. We're on the move. So let's roll with edge here as we find out how does this all get started. Okay, decently well. It's a weak hit right now. I could burn momentum to make it a strong hit, but I'd rather save that momentum. So it's a weak hit. We get to choose one. Either get 2 momentum or we're in control. Well, fuck the 2 momentum right now. We could only get 1 more anyway. We're almost maxed due to all of our misfortunes. We're in control. Absolutely, we're in control. Let's make sure that's the case. So we dodge all that fire and are able to turn around. We come up with that plan. And like, this ship, you know, it's designed for war. I think it's inherently more agile. And so we're able to kind of get turned around and outmaneuver them pretty easily. Now, this is a big ship, but it's not carrying around a like 2.5 mile array on the back. We don't have the same kind of machinery load that makes this thing just slow, and it's industrial. It's not supposed to have to be in a combat. They thought they had their shot, they blew it. Now they're going to suffer the costs. They're paying the price. So in our control, we come up with this plan, and I think the first goal is we need to gain ground. We're not close enough to really get our shots on the array just right. We need to be able to be in the right position to do that, because we're aiming for a smaller target. We're used to aiming for the ship, and like the Beowulf probably has some amount of automated systems that immediately target the ship. We have to be able to take the guns manually and aim them at this thing that's not usually a prioritized target. It means we're gonna have to get in close to be able to pull it off well. That's our expectation. So right now this is just gaining ground, and it's with edge. We're maneuvering. We're trying to get close to that thing. Let's make this happen. Okay, it's the same thing. We have a weak hit that we could turn into a strong hit, but again, we stay in control on a weak hit, and I'd rather keep all this momentum. We get to choose one. Mark progress, take 2 momentum, which it's more than we can take anyway, or a 1 on our next move. And this is going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to make the progress, and then I think our next move is going to be, we're going to blast the shit out of it with our cannons. That we're just going to fire everything we got at the array, now that we're in position, and try and overload the system. So our first progress, we got 3 boxes right there. Let's strike. We give it everything we have. I think the one thing I'm going to say to be less nice to myself, the whole point of maneuvering, I think we did have to get in close to this. Close enough that this is an iron move more than an edge move. We're like right up on it to make sure that these cannons are going to go to the right place. We do have to use iron, but we have heavy cannons. We can either do a strafing run, which gives us a +1 on this and 1 momentum on a hit, or we can focus fire, which is we'll mark progress no matter what, but lose a momentum. Both are pretty compelling. I'd love to just help ensure and take care of the fact that we're only using iron, get that +1, and max out our momentum with exactly 1. That would be great. So let's do this as a strafing run as we just we fly all alongside the length of this thing. And the Beowulf's a pretty big ship, so like it's more like it's a timing thing about, when the cannon is actually nearby, that one fires, and then when the back one is nearby, that one fires. Like everybody is manning their cannons, waiting for the right moment to hit this thing all in one go, like just one after another, keeping it with a consistent rhythm to hopefully overload the system with a number of pulses of just energy coming in constantly. So here we go. Iron with a +1 as we do a strafing run on this thing. Okay, we have a weak hit. The top die was a 9, so momentum can't help us there. We did pretty well. I got a 6 versus a 9 and a 3. It's a weak hit. We mark progress twice, but you expose yourself to danger. You are in a bad spot. Now, here's the problem. We have 9 boxes filled now, having marked progress twice, but we're in a bad spot. If we try and just take decisive action here to just seize the objective and win the fight, it's going to downgrade. The best we can hope for without a match is a weak hit. A weak hit is likely, we're likely to get a strong hit natively, but it's going to downgrade to a weak hit, which means there's going to be a cost, unless we can regain control. So maybe it's like it did really well, and clearly it's taking. We can see the surface of this thing just kind of quivering and shuddering with the energy, but it needs that one more push. And before we can give it, I think the profit margin, being a pretty honkin' big industrial thing, as we're just strafing past this thing, it's just going to slam into us. It rises up, knowing we're up above and understanding what we're doing. It's going to slam into us to knock us out of the way, divert us from being able to complete that. And so we have to react under fire from just being run into by this other ship, which means we're blocking or diverting with force or taking the hit. We have to roll iron on this. This is, I think we don't really have any choices in how this is working. That's just what's happening. We have to be able to take it as we get crashed into by another, while not combat ship, very dense industrial one. So here we go. We're rolling with iron. We still at least have 6 momentum, so that'll help us here. Let's do it. Okay. I got a weak hit. I, again, rolled really well. Unfortunately, the top die was a 10. There's just nothing we can do about that. So we're in our little bit of a spiral from last time. We overcome the worst of it, but there is a cost. We have to make a suffer move and stay in a bad spot. Now, here's the problem. Right now, we're kind of relying a little bit on our momentum, and every time this happens, it's ticking down and down and down. We might wind up just needing to take decisive action to just accept that we're getting a weak hit, but it'll be okay. For now, though, I think the most reasonable cost that happens is it hits our integrity, right? I mean, we're slammed into, we barely have shields left anyway. The Beowulf takes a big hit. We're going to find out how big of a hit as we react to it. So we're withstanding damage. First off, we immediately lose the 1 to our momentum. We're down to 5 because we have no integrity to lose. Because it's 0, we gotta roll this. So rolling our integrity of 0, we get... Okay, I actually got a weak hit, which is not terrible. If the vehicle is not battered, which it's not, I could lose 1 momentum in exchange for 1 integrity. Unfortunately, momentum is like the thing we need more than integrity right now, so I don't want to do that, but the important thing is it didn't get worse. I'll take that as a victory. The Beowulf kind of takes it, it rocks everything around, but This thing is made of pretty sturdy stuff. The main problem was that we weren't able to complete it, and now our guns are wrong. We're still in a bad spot, though, so what is our new challenge here? What are they doing to us? It could be something that's happening internally from being rocked around like that we just have to, like, they're not blasting us. We're not in a good position for them to do that, but maybe there's a problem inside the Beowulf. Something is going haywire that needs to be dealt with. Like, let's actually frame this through Emile's perspective. This is about Emile being in a bad spot more than anything, not just the Beowulf. So let's say that hit happened, and because there has not been a complete cycle of the airlock, it like bashes the airlock back open, so it's no longer a physical barrier. It's not broken open. Like we could close this again, but somehow like it was like a door that's mostly closed but not quite fully latched, and so it gets a hit there. The airlock reopens, and Emile, he's being sucked out into space. He needs to avoid the problem of that happening, hopefully trying to close the door, because he's about to lose the Beowulf once again. Now, he thankfully has this suit that really helps him deal with it, but he's being sucked hard. Don't worry about that phrasing. He is being pulled from the Beowulf with great kinetic energy. So much so that even his suit is only going to be able to counteract it so well, and it would be nice if he could close this door again. So we are reacting under fire here, definitely with our edge, as we're trying to get into a position to maneuver against this current problem and ideally be able to close this door once again. But mostly just not immediately get pulled out of the ship. If we can maintain control about that, then we'll have some different options. So here we are. This is gaining ground through edge. Let's hope we can pull it off. Emile would sure like to stay inside this ship. Holy shit, it was a miss for one, but I rolled a 10 and a 9, and it was almost a double 10 complication. It is a miss, though, so clearly Emile is not able to stay inside the ship. The foe gains the upper hand, the fight moves to a new location, or you encounter a new peril. You're in a bad spot and must pay the price. Yeah, Emile is not able to. It's too big of a pull. He's trying, he's rocketing around, but he gets just bounced around a little bit on the way out, so I think he's going to take it to health. He gets banged up a little bit, and eventually he tries to hold on, but it just pulled away, and he's taken away from the Beowulf. Now, thankfully, from his perspective, he is still, like, what takes him away from the Beowulf does get him a little bit closer to the profit margin. So he might be able to make use of that just physically. He might be able to do something to the ship itself. These combats always end up with Emile out in space. This time he wasn't trying to, but it happened anyway. So yeah, let's suffer it to health. He gets minorly banged up, just a -1, but that does hit our momentum again, and of course, we do need to endure that harm. So here we go. Let's hope it goes all right. We still have 1 iron to work with, and we get... Oh, why couldn't I roll like that on other times? I get a strong hit! A 4 versus a 2 and a 1. It's a shame that doesn't put us in the right position. We're not in control, but at least, if I weren't wounded, I could shake it off and take 1 health. Can't do that, but I can embrace the pain and take 1 momentum, and well, that's the only option I can take, so we get the momentum back. Emile recognizes this is just his lot in life. Maybe he is even thinking about how, like, why do I always end up in space in this? Like, how has this become my fate? And he just accepts, this is my luck. I'm destined to never have it go easy, but to always find a way out anyway. I embrace this about myself. I'm going to make shit happen. So, of course, we are still not in control. So we are in a bad spot. We have a new problem. And in this case, I think it's going to be that, Emile, he's nowhere in connection to either of these ships. He needs to get one way or another, either back into the Beowulf, or he needs to accept it and just go to the profit margin. But he needs to secure himself on something, or he's going to be completely stranded by these ships. I mean, they're moving at orbital speeds. So is he, but like, eventually they're going to move along, and like, he's just going to be left in the middle of space. And they could eventually pick him up, but he'd rather it not happen. I think this is a react under fire of, don't get left behind by these ships. He is going to try and secure himself. I think based on the last move, he's too far from the Beowulf. I think his next best shot, he's kind of hurtling himself towards the profit margin, and he thinks he's just got a better shot at getting himself secured magnetically and everything to that ship. Like, get attached to something. We'll deal with the other shit later. Of course, It does mean he'll probably be nearby the thing they want to shoot, which is its own sort of problem, but we'll deal with that when it comes. So we're reacting under fire here. As usual, we're using edge. We're trying to get into position to just secure ourselves to this ship. Let's do it, and hope I roll like last time. And I did! I rolled a 7 against a 2 and a 1. So you succeed and are in control. Take 1 momentum. We are out of the death spiral here. Emile secures himself to the surface of this ship, recognizes that he can get to it before the Beowulf does. He's in control, and I think the decisive action we're going to do, Emile, maneuvers himself over to the array. He's going to plug in his computer, and he is going to actively choose where this shit gets diverted to make sure it specifically sends all of this energy to the weapon systems. It's no longer getting flooded out to the rest of the ship. As it processes it, he is going to take over, try and hack it so that it all goes to weapons, completely overloading them, making it shut down and making this thing functionally disabled. Weapons and I guess engines, he wants those to be offline as well, but first priority is weapons. So he's going to take control doing that. I'm not even going to do this as a gain ground. This is just the decisive action he's doing. Make the overload happen. Let's not risk losing control. All right. We're rolling against 9 boxes. Oh, there was almost a 10 there, but instead is a 6 and an 8. We get a strong hit. So we prevail. Take 1 momentum, bringing us back up to... Actually, not even back up to. We are at our max. We have made it to 7. If any objectives remain and the fight continues, you are in control. Well, there are not any. We have successfully disabled this ship. Now here's what's kind of interesting. Emile is not on the Beowulf, as we established. He has secured himself to the profit margin. Now, I thought about making it so, he might have to compel them to pick him up again, but honestly, that's retreading old stuff. He already has the agreement. He is allowed on the ship. He'll just be in the airlock with Vert, but he wouldn't have to compel them again to stay by their agreement. Not enough has changed on that. But Emile figures, if they're busy piloting the ship and trying to use lasers and stuff, ion cannons, there aren't that many people still aboard the profit margin. A lot of them died. They're pretty short-staffed. They're probably not still in the hangar. And he knows that Ironsides and Vert's armor, that's where they would have been left. Maybe. I think Emile's going to use this opportunity while he arranges for a pickup. He's already on the ship. He might be able to pull this off while we got some nice high momentum. He doesn't want to radio in the plan in case they intercept the radio communications. He doesn't want to telegraph to them that this is where he's going and that he's on the ship. They might not even know he's there. They know their system got blasted and now they're disabled. They wouldn't have any reason to assume that was Emile's doing. We're going to gather information, a move I feel like I've not done in a long time. Emile is going to clamber his way down the side of the ship until he can just literally physically see inside the hangar to see, is Vert's armor and his Ironside still there? Are either of them still there? There's a wits roll. He clambers down to figure out, does he have his opportunity? Is the room empty for him? So this is wits. And we get a double 4 strong hit with a match. You discover something helpful and specific, the path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn, then take 2 momentum. Now we can't take the 2 momentum. I'm going to go with the most obvious thing here, which is strong hit with a match. This room, not only did they leave behind both the objects, there's nobody in the room right now. It is the perfect opportunity. And with this only being a 4, I think, honestly, that's probably worthy alone. I don't think the match should necessarily be anything more than that. Because, indeed, I think strong hit alone would have been yeah, both things are in there, and maybe there's a couple of guards and he'd have to sneak his way in. Just to make it worthy of a roll. But the match, I think, makes it so we don't even need to worry about the roll. Emile can just do it. And that's the real difference. He doesn't have to stealth his way in. He just has a perfect opportunity. He's going to go in and grab him. Unnoticed. I think he'll have a way from the outside to just disable the energy shield on this hangar. That's maybe even what the match is that the hangar doors, Emile opened them to escape. They never took the opportunity to close them. Not yet. They didn't think it was necessary. They still hopefully wanted to capture the Beowulf. I've probably messed with the scale of these 2 ships a lot. With if they're big enough to hold the Beowulf inside. Maybe that never would have been a valid option. Maybe Beowulf can't fit inside, but they're hoping to get it up close so that they could just dock basically, and I don't know. I've King Konged that one a little bit. The scale keeps changing. My apologies. Anyway, Emile can do this without a move. He seizes both the things, and now he just needs to get himself back to the Beowulf. That does involve either him radioing in a plan for pickup information or just maneuvering his way over there, or both. There is one issue, however, which is that a broken into pieces Ironsides and Vert's heavy fucking armor, either one of those would be a lot for one person to carry. I don't think that it would be reasonable for Emile to be able to do that on his own with both of them. So I have an idea. Emile knows where suits were, right? He could maybe stealth around to find another one. I think he is going to assemble Ironsides just enough to stuff him, he's a humanoid form, put Ironsides inside a suit that Emile can then program in. We've established these suits' propulsions can be set up to take in data about where they go, how they fire. He could send Ironsides on his way inside of a suit and then take Vert's armor over. Okay, I have a question about Vert's armor. We've never firmly established this. It could make it a lot easier. Can Vert's armor seal itself against space? We've never seen it come up. It's never been something we know it's big, powerful power armor. We don't know if it can seal itself because we've never had a reason to. So I'm going to ask the Oracle, could Emile just come in wearing Vert's armor? Which, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? I'm going to ask the Oracle on this. Just a 50-50. Can this armor itself seal against Atmo? No, it cannot. That was a 96. That would have been no, even on almost certain. So that's not what this is for. Emile's just going to have to awkwardly carry that, and it's hard. If he's going to pull off this plan, he needs a second suit. And just visually, I like the plan too much to not do it, so Emile's going to do the first part right away. He is actually going to think of somebody ahead of himself right now. He's going to think of Dash. And the first thing he's going to do, he is going to secure Ironsides getting back before he even finds a suit of his own. So, while he has this moment here, he's going to make this move as he, puts the Ironside pieces back in a humanoid shape inside this suit. He takes off the suit, puts Ironsides inside, seals it up, and he's going to try and just give it coordinates, coordinate with the Beowulf for a pickup. This is a move where he sends info to Beowulf's screen about where he's going to send Ironside, package incoming basically, and then he's going to send coordinates to Ironside's suit to get to that spot. This is going to require some setup here. This is definitely a wits move. We are configuring an electronic system on this suit, so we get to use our tech asset. We're rolling a +1 here. He's sending the package over. This is a face danger with wits. I think part of the danger is Ironsides could just be lost to this. It could fuck up. The other part is it just could take him a long time. Who knows? Let's just roll it. Wits with a +1. We still have our 7 momentum, so we got a lot going to our name here. I'd love to more use that momentum when we needed to find a suit or something. However, we have a miss, which means we can't press our luck. This is not a weak hit. I could turn it into a weak hit by burning my momentum, at which point I could press my luck. Because I just rolled terribly on that. Should I do this? I think it's better than the miss, yeah. So here we go. I'm going to burn momentum. We're doing a combo here. This is like playing Killer Instinct. We're chaining this together. I burn momentum to turn it into a weak hit. Because it's a weak hit, I can then re-roll it, adding a +2 instead of a +1 to hopefully turn it into a strong hit. We're thinking with portals now. So, all right. We're rolling a d6 +5, basically. And then I re-roll the dice. Okay. I only rolled a 1 on my d6, so we only have a 6 here. But let's roll the 2d10s. Okay. I rolled a 2 and an 8. It stays a weak hit, but we didn't lose anything there. It didn't turn into a miss again or anything like that. Unfortunately, the dice just didn't have my side. So we have a weak hit. We succeed, but not without a cost, make a suffer move -1. And unfortunately, here's the real problem. Our momentum resets to 0 when we do that, because we've lost so much, and anything we suffer from is going to bring that down to -1. So we're in the negatives. I hate it, but all of this gambit did not pay off well. But hey, Emile actually did a noble thing. He considered somebody else first. Ironsides He's able to get him shipped off, secure the package. I think this is the reason it's a weak hit, not a strong hit, is it takes him a fair amount of time to get this set up. But two, I think he starts hearing the sounds of other people approaching. And so, like, he's maybe not quite ready. It's not the perfect coordinates, but he just has to push Ironsides out the door and get into a position to just, like, to not be discovered in here. You know, nobody knows he's around, but they might soon if they start paying attention to security cameras and stuff. So Emile is here. He has Vert's armor. He needs a way to get across himself. Now, he could do this one of two ways. He could try and scavenge himself up a suit again, which, you know, he's at least good at that, and it might help us get momentum back. He could also try and get Beowulf to just pick him up. But I think no matter what, it would be difficult without a suit to make that transition, so I think he needs to go for the suit here. Now, we previously established this is not a wreck, ruin, or abandoned site, so I can't get my scavenger +1, take 1 momentum on a hit out of it. I guess I'm not being helped by it. But I can still make the resupply move, and it's still a wits move, which is good. So Emile starts looking around. He needs a specific item here. He needs another suit. And he does know at least where to go looking for one. He was there before. There may have even been another one available that he knows, just go back for that. It was too many. He didn't need to grab them all. So Emile tries to very carefully and quietly move about on this ship back to the right location where he has things left for him. We make the resupply move with wits. You know, I'm reading this move here. I don't know that this is a wits move. Scavenging implies, like, you know, yeah, there's all kinds of detritus and stuff, and we're trying to find what's left there. We're looking for a suit. What we're really doing, it's not like a suit among rubble. What we're doing is stealing or swindling. This is a shadow move. I know something is here. I'm trying to just steal it. We're really not scavenging. I've probably given myself too kind of an interpretation on that in the past. This is going to be shadow, which means Emile should really find some opportunities, like ways to make this to his advantage, because he's not good at that stealthy stuff. What could he do? How can he make this better for himself? I suppose one thing he could do, which would be scavenging, is getting materials such that he could indeed wear Vert's armor and it's just been modified to keep out atmosphere. If he can just shore this thing up through an ad hoc method, well, this is already wearable. And that's probably more in his wheelhouse. The only thing is, in order for me to be satisfied with that, I need to consider, like, I guess what he'd be doing is maybe even just, like, he would need to find something his head could fit inside. So I think that's the biggest problem, is the head is exposed. It's just fully open. It's never supposed to seal in. The rest of the body is probably, like, we've talked about the gloves and everything. Most of this suit is like a space marine. Most of this suit is closed off, I think. But there's an exposed head. If he can find something to wear over his head and then just, like, weld it into place, maybe even using, he has his laser. It's a cutter. He could use that to weld it in place. Okay, I think this is actually plausible. So what he needs to do is scavenge up basically a fishbowl, anything he could wear over his head. He knows Karthik Kwan has one, but he'd rather not encounter Karthik Kwan. And then just, like, put a metal collar on that and weld it into place and make this into a spacesuit. So, all right. Now this is scavenging. He is looking throughout to find anything he could use as just a very impromptu helmet. And then once we find it, we're going to cobble this into an ad hoc spacesuit. It's probably not going to live up very long, but maybe long enough. So having justified scavenge, looking for a very different kind of thing, just what will fill this purpose. Now we're going to resupply with wits, looking for, like any kind of dome, or it doesn't even have to be see-through. Like, even if he can't see through it, it just needs to seal him. Something in this hangar, like even a crate that's just small enough that it won't be too bulky, that he can move around. Put a crate on this thing and weld it in, like anything he can use. I'll probably roll a descriptor and focus to figure out what it is. So, making a wits roll, we get. Okay, it's a weak hit, which means we first deal with a cost, complication, or demand, envision the nature of this obstacle, then we can get the item and take 1 momentum, which is nice. I think the problem is the complication. Like, we find this thing, and it's indeed, like, it's like a metal crate that's just the right size, that it should actually be weldable. Like, it won't be too big, won't be too small. He could fit his head inside. He's not going to be able to see through it, but it'll at least do for long enough. He thinks it would be a reasonable thing to put in there, but he spots it at the exact moment that whoever would ordinarily be like manning this hangar, going back in, like somebody's been instructed to just close these doors. They remember that they're open. They see him. That person is coming in here now. And Emile, to get this, would be exposing himself, or at least he'd have to do it very stealthily to not be noticed. And of course, certainly working on it would be its own problem. So he's going to need to either like dispatch this person somehow or sneak around. Like he's going to have to avoid being seen, ideally. And I think I know the perfect way for him to do it. The person giving orders around here seems to be another Emile. Emile would have to modify his voice a little bit. Like they sound a little bit different, but there's kind of a same bass voice underneath. Emile thinks that maybe he could get a, if he hooks up to this guy's radio, if he gets like, lets him get close enough to be within that kind of, Bluetooth range that we've talked about, where he wouldn't have to plug in, he could maybe hack in a message in his voice sounding like new orders to get this guy to leave. So Emile's going to do that. This is a tech move. We are hacking an electronic system, but this is definitely Shadow. We're trying to do this stealthily. We're trying to trick this dude. So we get to use our tech asset, but with Shadow. So Emile, he wants to get the thing, but he can't expose himself. He's like hiding behind a crate, and like he needs the guy to get close enough. He does what he can to connect into the system. He doesn't want this to just be heard by everybody else, but give just a direct message to this guy, spoofing like it is an order that would be coming that everybody would be able to hear, telling him basically, actually, wait, we need you back at the guns. We almost have them back online. Something like that. We need you back on the ion cannon. It's more important. Anything along those lines. So this is a face danger with Shadow that we get a +1 on, and if we get a weak hit, we can press our luck. Let's do this up. I now don't need the weak hit. In fact, I didn't even need the +1. I just natively got a strong hit on Shadow. So Emile pulls it off against a 1 and a 5. He gets a 7. We're successful. Take 1 momentum. We're back in the positive. And Emile successfully is able to go, like, he does his best imitation of the other Emile's, like, version of his voice and sends this in, doing exactly as I described, saying, like, scrub the previous orders. We need all personnel going back to the cannons. Ion cannon is back online. We may be able to still take this fight to them. And it seems successful. The guard turns tail and hustles out of the room. So now Emile truly has his opportunity. He stopped him from closing the hangar door. He has this perfect thing. He clutches it up. And now he's going to just very impromptu start using this handheld device he has. He needs to weld it onto the suit. He's down on the ground. He is just using his tool to make another ad hoc device. He needs this to be a spacesuit. Now, I think the thing about this, it's not designed to have a helmet that goes on and off. He actually needs to wear the armor first and then weld it around his own neck. He can't really see, and he can't see out of it. But otherwise, he'd never be able to get in and out. So I think what I'm going to say, we're going to secure an advantage here because we're so not able to see this, but we know that we've previously been able to set up systems like this on a smart gun system. I think he's going to make a program to let the welding happen automatically. He doesn't have to use his own hands. He just has to stand still while the arm on the smart gun system just like welds around his neck as we try and make an impromptu spacesuit. So this is secure an advantage with wits as he tries to make we're making a computer program to perform a specific complex function. Weld this helmet onto this power armor. So we get to add +2 to this. Wits with a +2. We get 1 momentum on a hit. Let's do this. Easy strong hit. We cap out the dice. We max out at 10. We rolled against a 5 and a 3. So we take 2 momentum and a 1 on our next move, and we get 1 momentum just because of our tech asset. So we're going to get 3 momentum back. We're up to 4 as successfully. He stands there. He's inside the suit. He welds this on. Our momentum is getting higher here as he codes this program. He does a quick trial. He sees that it's following the right kind of path. It seems to be able to like identify a seam. He pulls that up on his computer and like, yep, this should be working appropriately. So let's use it. We get a +1 on our next move. We also get a +1 because we are using our tool, which may break, but and we also actually get a +3 because we are repurposing or modifying equipment or technology with our gearhead. So this is going to be Wits with a +3 as we try and craft this. Here we are, securing an advantage with wits to make this spacesuit. There we go. And in fact, we didn't need it to be that high of a bonus, but we got another 10 versus a 7 and a 5 this time. So we succeed. I need to break this down. We get 2 momentum from securing advantage. We get a 1 on our next move. So right away, we're up to 6 momentum again. We're going to max out on momentum here because we also, due to our gearhead, we get a 1 momentum from that because we were crafting or repurposing equipment or technology. And now we have this device that is going to give us a +1 as we try and maneuver our way back to the Beowulf blindly. We can't actually see. So Emile does the finishing touches on this right next to the hangar door. He is going to send out a signal to the Beowulf about what's happening, where he's going to go. He's going to try and because this is not a smart system. I don't think that Vert's armor can just be told. It has no propulsion on it. It can't just be told where to go. He lets them know he is going to jump out of this thing. He's coming out the hangar doors and he's going to need a pickup. He's otherwise going to maneuver himself as best as possible to just jump far away from the ship and just be clear of it. And because he can't see or anything, I wouldn't necessarily make this a move if he could at least see, but because he's completely blind, this is an edge move. We get that +2 from those 2 things I just said as Emile tries to get himself into position for a pickup. Edge, +2. Okay. We get a weak hit. I could burn momentum to make it into a strong hit. But honestly, the other option is just making a suffer move of -1, which is way better for me. I'm going to keep this a weak hit. So we're going to lose some momentum. Emile it takes a little time. It's awkward, but Emile gets free. He is floating out in space with the limited amount of oxygen he has because this system does not provide him with oxygen or anything like that. He is relying on them to pick him up. He is just sitting there trying not to freak out. Actually, honestly, that 1 hit is probably not to momentum. It was probably to spirit because this is a super claustrophobic and terrible situation to be in. So I'm going to make him endure stress. I think that's just more fitting. Now, it comes from our momentum because we have no spirit to lose, but we're going to endure stress. We get to roll our heart against this, and let's see what happens. It is a miss that I could turn into a weak hit. And that is probably worthwhile because I don't want it to be worse than I thought. Because we're already shaken, we would potentially become traumatized. Let's just burn the momentum to turn this into a weak hit. Which means if we're not shaken, which we are, we could have lost 1 momentum for 1 spirit back, but we're just shaken in there. We are waiting for the pickup. Really nervous, knowing we only have so much time. It's probably really cold in here. It's claustrophobic. We can't see anything. But eventually, muffled through the sound of this, we hear starship engines, and we're hoping it's just the right kind of pickup. That this is the Beowulf, and that he's not being captured by the profit margin once again. His fears are put to rest, though, when he hears a familiar voice say, "What the fuck have you done to my armor?" As for how this is going to progress with the 2 of them in this same cell, with Emile wearing Vert's armor, well, that's a question for next time. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet and go straight to the prompts. This is going to be a date night. I want to know, come up with an idea for a date for me. What would be a cool thing to do incorporating the action and theme of locate and discovery? I feel like we literally had the exact locate and discovery come up before for a different prompt. I don't remember. Let me know if you know which one that was. But in addition to that, let me know what date idea you have for locate and discovery. What does that conjure up in your mind? It doesn't have to be sci-fi. It could be if you want it to be. This could be in whatever universe you want, but somebody's going on a date. It incorporates locate and discovery. Let me know what you come up with. Send your ideas to starforgedpod@gmail.com, or you can always respond to the thread on the Starforged Discord. And of course, as a reminder, anybody who leaves a review on iTunes, I will indeed make a roll out of however many stars you put on there. If you just demonstrate to me, send me an email showing this one was me, and let me know what kind of song you would like for you on a strong hit. And if it's a weak hit or a miss, I will modify it accordingly. But let me know what kind of victory song you want for your strong hit. Send that to same places, starforgedpod@gmail.com or the Starforged Discord. Let me know, and of course, play me out music.